What's up property, it's Louis here, hope you are doing great. In this video I'm going to talk about how you can find a good rental property in South Africa. I'm going to jump straight into it, and before you can start investing in property you need to make sure that you have a good understanding of all the basics. The basics might seem boring, but they are the fundamental part of investing in property, and it's something that you cannot skip. I recently launched a property course where I cover everything from the basics up until signing the OTP with your agent, clauses that you need to add to your contract, how you should structure your property, how to calculate the numbers, and all the necessary details to get started in property. I'll share the link down in the description, so make sure you check that out if you want to learn as much as possible. The first thing that we need to do before we just buy a rental property is to understand what strategy we will follow. There's many different strategies when it comes to property. We get normal cash flow strategies, we get equity strategies, we get appreciation strategies, you can do wholesaling, there's flipping. There's so many different creative ways to generate money with property, and that's why it's a super exciting asset class. It's important to understand which one you want to focus on, because ultimately that will determine the type of strategy and the type of property that you will buy. Then you need to make sure that you understand the market that you are buying in. I always tell people to focus on buying property in the area that you actually stay in. The reason I say this is because you have a massive advantage over someone that does not live in that area. And just hear me out for a second. So if you live in Gauteng or in the Western Cape, you obviously have a massive advantage over me because you know the area much better. You need to know the area like the inside of your hand to make sure that you can spot trends that other people are missing, and you can be able to execute certain strategies in that specific areas that no other people or investor might be able to spot. So focus on your area. Don't go and buy your first property 1,000 kilometers away from you just because it's a trendy area. Stick to what you know and stick to the closest area, and it just makes the whole investing process much easier. You can go and drive by the potential property in the morning and at night to check out what the hell is actually going on in that area. You'll have to go out and do your market research the old-fashioned way. You'll be surprised at the amount of information that you can get out of sitting next to the property that you want to buy for a couple of hours and inspecting what is going on in that area. There's no better way to find out what is going on in a property or a apartment than speaking to someone that rents there at that stage. If you see a tenant or someone that lives there, speak to them, ask them questions. What is the management like? Is there any water or electricity issues? And find out the general feel of this tenant, whether they are happy or not to actually live there. These are ways that you can leverage people to share information that you can't really Google. This is what I called field research. With that said, there's also tools that you can use to identify whether an area is worth investing in. We have platforms like Property24, TPN or Lightstone that you can use. This is just a sample, and this is something that you can check out when you use this report. You can see the median prices and the growth and activity in these areas. So you can search for a specific suburb, a specific town, or a specific area to see what are properties actually selling for. And like we can see here, a property bought in 2008 was selling for 580,000 Rand when it was a sectional scheme, and let's say 2017 that same property will be selling for around 800,000 Rand. So this is just ways that you can use to determine whether there is actually growth in a certain area and whether it's worth investing there. This is just a sample of a TPN investors report, and some of the tools that you can use is to see what is the good standing ratio in that area to determine how many people are actually paying their rent on time, how many people are paying late, how many people are only making partial payments, and how many people did not pay at all. So it gives you a good standing ratio in every suburb, the province and national as well. We can see that that specific suburb has a 93.45% good standing ratio, which is obviously great. And these are tools that can help you out quite a bit. We can also see what type of people live in those areas. We can see property sizes, household sizes, and we can also see the population group. What's the percentage of Black African versus colored versus Indian or Asian, etc. And you can also see the language as well as the education levels of those tenants. So here we can see that majority people in this area has a higher education, which can be a good indication that the people obviously pay their rent on time. These are just one of the many tools available that you can use before you start buying property. Once we did our field research and we used all the available tools, then we can start running the numbers. If you do not understand the numbers, you will not be able to identify a good property. The numbers never lie, and the thing that I like about running the numbers is there's no emotions involved, because if it's a good deal, it will show it's a good deal. If it's a bad deal, it will show it's a bad deal. If we bought a property for 650,000 Rand, the rental income is 6,500 Rand. Our bond payment will be around 6,500 Rand over 30 years at prime rate. Let's say our levies is 1,200 Rand. Our rates and taxes is 800 Rand. We pay an agent a 6% commission. This will equal an amount of 390 Rand. We can also add vacancy if we wanted to, and that would be 8% of the rental income, which would be around 520 Rand. And we can also try to save 250 Rand a month for repairs. This will mean that this property will cost us around 9,660 Rand a month. It gives us a total operating expense ratio of 150%, and it shows that this property will cost us around 3,160 Rand each and every month, or a total of 37,920 Rand every year. Just by looking at these simple numbers, I can immediately identify that this is not going to be a good rental investment. The ideal situation would be if we could increase the rental income to, let's say, 12,000 Rand. These are imaginary numbers, and it's just to show you why it's important to run the numbers and just look at how things will change. Now suddenly this property will generate around 1,570 Rand, and if we work out the return on investment on this property, we can see that it has a 54% return on investment, and it also passes the 1% rule. But I would advise you to make sure that you understand these return on investment calculations before trying to invest in any area or in any type of property. Finding a good property deal is something that takes time, and it's almost impossible to find a good deal on your first property that you view. So this is something that you'll have to repeat over and over again, and it takes a bit of experience to work with different agents to understand your market and to make sure that you understand all of these numbers.